There are 3 questions. The first one, is there a difference between Tibetan Buddhism teachings and Chinese Buddhist teachings? We have 2 temples in Richmond. What is the difference? Tibetan Buddhism, there are 8 schools of Buddhism, of the Buddhist teaching, according to the Mahayana approach. The Tiantai school, Huayan school, the Vinaya school, the precept school, Vinaya school, and the Zen school, and the consciousness, the study of the consciousness school, and the Madhyamaka school, the esoteric school, and the Pure Land school. 8 schools. Tibetan Buddhism is under the esoteric school. They are different, they are just different paths going to one destination. The destination is the same. When you come to Richmond, there's not only just one road. There's so many roads to Richmond. So many roads that lead to Rome. One road is shorter than the other, one is longer, maybe one is more hazardous and the other is more safe, and one is more expedient, the other is just more non-expedient. One is suitable for academics and the other one is more suitable for the common practitioner. So, the 8 schools. Why would the Buddha introduce so many schools, so many roads that lead to enlightenment? And why are there so many different methods, so many different paths of enlightenment? There shouldn't be just one method. If you have just one method, then that could be an opinionated method. In other words, to achieve to one destinations, you should not just prescribe one way, because different sentient beings have different intelligence level, have different karmic levels, have difference in their experiences. So it all depends on which experiences you fit into. It is largely because of these differences in the paths of reincarnations that Buddhism is classified as more scientific. Because it's not just one way. There's so many ways of doing it. Meditation is one of the many schools. But it does not matter how many schools, how many ways. There is a common denominator. That common denominator it's about the mind. It's purifying the mind. Every school deals with purifying the mind, purification of the mind. In the Tibetan teaching, how to achieve that purification is by the harmony of 3 avenues, of 3 perspectives. The body, speech and mind. So it's the harmony of body, speech and mind into purification. When the Tibetan practitioner is chanting, what did he do? His gesticulation, maybe this, maybe that. He's using hand gestures, and you call that positions. There's so many different positions. There's different gesticulations. What does that mean? Gesticulations means, or hand gestures means behavior. When you're sitting here practicing, What are you doing? What is your what is your behavior? You are gesticulating. But at the same time, other than behavior, what makes up a karma? Where does karma come from? Good karma, bad karma, neutral karma. Where does karma come from? Karma comes from the body, which produces behavior, the mouth, which produces speech, the mind, which produces thought. When you're practicing under the Tibetan Buddhism, when they're chanting Om Mani Padme Hum, or they could be rolling the Dharma wheel, Om Mani Padme Hum, or doing hand gestures, gesticulation, they are at the same time harmonizing the three avenues. The behavior, the speech, because they're chanting Om Mani Padme Hum, they're chanting. Speech is coming out from the mouth. And what is that thought? Visualization. No other thought except for Om Mani Padme Hum. So three esoteric avenues in harmony. The body, speech, and mind in harmony. So that's purification of the mind, basically. What controls speech is the mind. What controls behavior is the mind. But why do we have body and speech? Why didn't we just say control of the mind? Because the mind, we can split it up into the finest detail and the coarse, the non-refined one. The non-refined one is from the senses. The nose, the tongue, the taste, the ears, the eyes. But the refined one stays within. So if within and without you are pure, then it's easier to get into harmony. So if you ask me, what's the difference between Tibetan Buddhism and the Chinese Buddhism? It's the same. It's about the mind. Nothing is different. The method could be different, but not entirely different though, because in all these other Chinese schools, they also have to get in harmony. The body, the speech, and the mind also have to get in harmony. So there's no difference. It's just the method that is different. In Tibetan Buddhism, however, it is believed that the guru is extremely important. So, in addition to taking refuge under the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, a Tibetan Buddhist practitioner also has to take refuge under the guru. 4 refuges. The guru, it's very important that the guru transmit his teaching to you. So if you practice Tibetan Buddhism without a guru, you just learn it from a book, or you saw someone doing that and you just copy it, you imitate it, that's equivalent to stealing. You're stealing the practice from there, you're stealing it. Your eyes, you steal it. It's just like you infringe on the copyright. You're stealing it. So you have to have the right guru who anointing you. Is it called anointing? Who touch your head and make sure that he passes on to you what he learned. The mantra, this particular mantra. So in Tibetan Buddhism, it's important that you selected the right guru. And there's so many clans within Tibetan Buddhism too. If you pick up the wrong guru, the guru that is not suitable for you, you may not be learning it right. So make sure that you pick up the right guru, the guru that is the most expedient to you, the most appropriate for you. But in the Chinese Buddhism, it's a mixture of esoteric and the obvious approach. Because in other Chinese schools, for example, in the Pure Land approach, in Madhyamaka, in Yogacara, you still chant with gesticulation. You still have mantras to chant, not just Tibetan Buddhism. In chanting mantra, in the obvious approach, we call it esoteric. Esoteric means, that's another word, clandestine, right? clandestine. Clandestine means confidential, more or less it's between the teacher and the student, clandestine. But the obvious is no, you can learn it from books, you can learn it from observation and all that. That's the Chinese teaching. They also have teachers, like I am giving lectures too, but not on a one-to-one basis like Tibetan Buddhism. Most of them onto a one-to-one basis. But then, if you do not have a guru in the Chinese Buddhism, would you be considered as stealing? You're stealing some gesticulations. You're Om Mani Padme Hum. You don't have a guru. Some people say, I believe in Tibetan Buddhism. I have a guru, and you are chanting Om Mani Padme Hum. Who is your guru? No, I don't have. Well, you're stealing. You stole that from us. But there's a sutra. It is called Dai Sing Gam Gong Tho Lo Li King. I don't know. Dai Sing is Mahayana Vajra Dharani Sutra. In the Mahavajradharani Sutra, it is written that if you chant this mantra 21 times, you are already considered as this mantra becomes your guru directly under Sakyamuni Buddha. There's a mantra like that. So if you learn that mantra, you would not be considered as stealing. And that mantra is not that difficult. The gesticulation is like this. It also teaches you gesticulation like this. And it says, Namastraya Dibiganam Daragatanam Burashi Mahachakra Vrachi Zata Zarati Dari Bidamani Sampanjani Dharamati Sita Akaradayam Swaha. 21 times. If you chant this 21 times, this mantra has been considered as your guru. This guru is directly from Sakyamuni Buddha anointing you. So you chant this 21 times, and all these other mantras will be very effective. But we'll learn about this later. There's so much to learn. It takes me 40 years. You want to learn it in a year? No way. Yes. Okay. What's the difference? No difference. I don't see any difference. It's a different in ways, because we chant dharani or mantra also in the Chinese Buddhism. Mantra of compassion, Namaratnatarayaya, mantra of medicine, we all chant that. And in the morning, in our morning lesson, we chant the mantra of Zurangama. A long mantra. Okay, that's one question. The next question. Venerable, can you please explain the significance of the circumambulation we do upstairs after lunch, and what is the meaning of the different hand positions? Thank you. Explain the hand positions first. When we chant Namo Amitofo in the first circle ambulation, or in front of the Buddha, because what is at the back becomes at the back of the Buddha. Especially for the first time, in the first circle, you put your palms together, signifying that you started this. Namo Amitofo, Namo Amitofo. And then after the first circle, in the second circle, you put the hands down like this. This is the Amitabha resting hand posture. This is Amitabha's resting hand posture. That means, because after the one circle, all the other circles, not just 3 times, it could be many, many times. You don't put your hands like that. This is in an active position. This is with your full devotion, with your utmost respect, paying the homage to, taking refuge under. So that is in the active state. So you shouldn't be always in the active state. How about after the active stage, then you put it in a more relaxed stage. Not so relaxed that you just forget it. It's in a stage that, in a state that you don't have to be that active. So this becomes right hand on top of left, the 2 thumbs pointing at each other, like that. So after circumambulation a few times, and then the presenter, the leader of the singers, the leader said, Amitabha, change the melody, then you start to be active again, because you know that you're coming to the end. Then you start to be active again, and you put your palms together again, ready to finish the ceremony. So at the start, at the finish is that, and in the middle is this. Why do you have to circumambulate? That's a custom of the Indian culture. They circumambulate in front of the Buddha 3 times to show respect, and they also prostrate themselves to show respect. So other than prostrating, just standing right in front of the Buddha, you also circumambulate, praising the Buddha, especially at the beginning or at the end. After walking, circumambulating for maybe 3 times at least, and then they sit down and start to listen to the Dharma talk of the Buddha. And after they finish, they circumambulate too, to praise the Buddha, to show thank you and appreciation to the Buddha. So this is just a ceremony. Nothing very difficult to understand. It's just something that's a ceremony. It's not a deep, profound philosophy. Okay, next. Thank you, Venerable, but for the meditation and the talk, I have 2 questions. I understand that the 3 marks of existence: the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, and the Five Skandhas. Wow, you have understand quite a bit. What I have trouble grasping is the conception of rebirth. If Buddhists believe in anatta and that there is no soul, then what is it that transmigrates? Is it components of the skandhas? It's very perplexing. Also, are the 6 realms of existence a metaphor, or do they exist? Well, so you understand the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, and the Five Skandhas, and especially the Five Skandhas saying it's all empty. The Five Skandhas are empty. So if it is empty, devoid of itself, then there's no soul. There's no soul. Who is responsible for transmigrating? Who is responsible for rolling into the next body of reincarnation, next form? That's a good question. If you say that 5 skandhas are empty, it's dependent on origination, it's changing, it's not permanent. So when the 5 skandhas go, when the 5 skandhas die, what becomes of the identity? What rolls into the next kind of reincarnation? Different schools have different emphasis. The 5 skandhas are empty with complete sunyata approach, like the Madhyamaka approach, then there's nothing to be obtained. Not even a soul. Not even that thing you call that transmigrate into the next reincarnation. Because within the realm of complete sunyata, there's nothing. But that approach tackles people who cling to existence. And then the Yogacara approach do it a little differently. They also recognize the sunyata approach, but then they say there is an essence that transmigrate. In other words, they claim that the Madhyamaka approach has not explained what is that, quote unquote, without a name for it, what is that rolls into the next reincarnation. The Yogacara believers said that That's the alaya consciousness. That is something that rose into the next form. And some of the religion call it the soul. It does not matter what you call it. It's that consciousness, that energy, that energy that rose into the next form of reincarnation. That is the Yogacara approach. So, if we look at it from the perspective of the Yogacara, that is something, that is the alaya consciousness, that the polluted consciousness, with its polluted identity, rose into the next form of reincarnation, transmigrate into the next form of reincarnation. Don't say that, so don't say that there's nothing that goes into the next form. Don't say that the 6 realms of existence is a metaphor, it never exists. It's not a metaphor, it really exists. But it's fallacious. It exists, but it's short-lived, its causation is dependent on origination, it's suffering, it's impermanent, it's changing. Therefore, it does not have its inherent existence, it's a sunyata. But it exists, not a metaphor. A metaphor meaning it's a mirage. It never has existed. When you're driving on a highway, you thought that there's water in there. No, it's just a reflection. That water has never existed, it's just a mirage. But in this case, the 6 realms of existence really exist. You are in one of the realms now, the human realm. The animals is another realm. If you have eyes that can see ghosts, ghosts is another realm. If you have eyes that can see guardian angels, heavenly angels is another realm. So they exist. Don't say they don't exist. Don't say that's without a soul. Maybe with a soul, if you claim that you have a soul, the Madhyamaka believers would say, you still claim that there is a permanence in you. You're not entirely detached from attachment. You haven't entirely understood sunyata. Because you still cling to a soul as a permanent identity. I don't know if you know what I mean. It's difficult to understand. It's difficult to understand. When you put into words, it becomes a playwright. It becomes a script. We better not put in any words. There is that consciousness that rose into the next form of reincarnation. Otherwise, who are you then? If you say that there's nothing after you die, then you have committed the mistake of nihilism. Nothing left when I'm gone. If you believe in nihilism, that's extremely dangerous. Because you can do what you want. You can kill, you can steal, you can do anything as long as you're happy. Because there's no cause and effect anymore. Okay, so there is something that transmits into the next form. Don't say no. However, don't think of a soul as a permanent entity that you cling to. Nothing we should attach to. Next question. When Buddhism was introduced into China, I understand that it was influenced by Taoism and Confucianism. Can you comment on this? One is not influenced by culture. Even religion has cultural traits in it. When it comes into a different culture, it always merges into that culture. It either merges into the culture or exposed by that culture. Buddhism, as far as I read from some books, it didn't spread to China, it spread to Rome, Italy, first. But it was expelled by the culture in there, so it went to the other way. So there's always cultural differences. But filtering out the cultural traits, there is still truth in there. Culture has opinions in it, has built-in opinions, built-in beliefs in it. If a religion comes into that culture, it merged with that culture, accepted by that culture, there must be some similarities between culture and the religion. In the case of China, there are a lot of similarities between Taoism, Confucianism, and Buddhism. There's similarities. But Taoism and Confucianism deal more with life than death. They talk about what do you do when you're living. They care less on what's after life. The Confucianists said that if we don't have time even to understand what is living, what do we have time to understand about death? We're busy with living already. But the good thing about Confucianism is it introduced moral. It introduced moral concepts into the community, into the Chinese community, about marriages, about husband and wife, the relationships, about definition of relationships, and about loyalty, about chastity, about righteousness, about moral. Taoism is more into withdrawn from the temporal affairs into a state beyond world. If you have the opportunity to learn about Buddhism, it's a very rare opportunity. You should value it. You should appreciate and treasure such an opportunity. Why is it difficult to believe in Buddhism? Because we always have the 3 obstructions and the 8 impossible situations confronting us. One of these 3 obstructions, and we call it in the Chinese language, 三障百烂. 三障 is the 3 obstructions to obstruct you from studying Buddhism. What are these 3 obstructions? Mental affliction, obstructions. The personality trait in you. What are these mental afflictions? Jealousy, hatred, greediness, depression, anxiety, fear, all these 烦恼障, mental affliction obstructions that obstruct you, that stop you from learning Buddhism. That's the first obstruction. The second obstruction is the karmic obstructions. Once you have performed, because you perform something, create karma out of mental afflictions, these would produce bad effects. These bad effects, non-meritorious effects, will stop you from having an opportunity to get near to Buddhism. There's karmic obstruction. For example, if you're born into a land where there's no Buddhism, karmically, then you have no chance to learn Buddhism. Or if you're born, for example, in certain parts of, say, in Africa, right now, I don't know if Africa has Buddhism, I don't know, but there's karmic obstructions under the mental afflictions. The third obstruction will be retribution obstructions. What is retribution obstruction? Say if you say, for example, if you have impaired vision, you cannot read books. If you're hard of hearing, you cannot listen to lectures. Those are retribution obstructions. The 3 obstructions. And also the 8 impossible situations to learn Buddhism. The 8 impossibilities that you don't have a chance to learn Buddhism. The first, victims of hell, no Buddhism. In the hell realm. Ghost realm, no Buddhism. Animal realm, animals, they don't study Buddhism, how can they learn Buddhism? And then in the 4th dhyana level, there is the no thought realm. In that realm, people live for millions of years, they won't study Buddhism. And also in the That's the fourth. The fifth impossible situation is you don't live in a land that has Buddhism. According to the Buddhist teaching, there are 4 continents. 4 continents. The north, south, east, west. We are the southern continent. Nanchan, Buzhou, southern continent. The southern continent, every continent has certain characteristics. For example, in our continent, the average lifespan is about 100 years, not more than 100 years. People may die before getting to 100 years. And the facial feature of that continent is like us. Wider at the top, narrow down at the chin level. In the southern continent, it's not. It's just the opposite. It's like a rectangle. In another continent, it's like a full moon. So the facial characteristic of people in that continent is expressed by the shape. In us, that's our wider here, narrower here. In the north, as far as I remember, it's like a triangle. In the east, it's like a half moon. The face is like a half moon face. In the south, in the west, it's a full moon. So, just to tell you more information, in the northern continent, people live up to 1,000 years. And there is no death before 1,000 years. They live up to, everybody live up to 100 years, and when they die, they go heaven. No Buddhism in there, they don't need it. No suffering, they don't need it. In the east, in the west, in the east, the average lifespan is 250 years. The west is 500 years. So, just the human ram, we are not the only species. There are 3 others. And if you are in the northern continent, no Buddhism. All right, that's the 5th impossible situation. The 6th, if you're blind, if you're deaf, if you're mute, no Buddhism. 7th, if you are intellectually opinionated. Some people say, I'm a PhD in particle physics. I don't need this Buddhism. I'm top of the world in my academic level. I'm intelligent. They're opinionated and they're so arrogant in what they are. They thought they are the top as far as knowledge is concerned. So those people, they don't have a chance to learn it. And they don't want to learn it. And finally, it's people who are born after the death of the Buddha or before the death or before Buddha was born, no chance for Buddhism. So those are the 8 impossible, we call it Bai Lan. 8 impossible situations where you do not have access to Buddhism. Now, you're free, you have access to Buddhism, you must not lose your opportunity. You really have to tackle your most important issue that I talk about, the issue of death. People don't want to solve this issue. After you die this life out, do not transmigrate into another one. Because you don't know where you will go. After this, you end it. No more reincarnation. The most expedient way is to go to the Pure Land. Enroll as a student under Amitabha Buddha. Fill your application form out. I mean it. That application form, 3 requirements: faith, vow, and practice. Faith is you believe that there is a Pure Land where Amitabha is. You firmly believe in it. Subconsciously you believe in it that you will go there, and there's such a world that you can migrate to. Faith. You believed it. Vow, you vow to go there. Anytime, I can leave anytime. I can even leave tomorrow if I have the chance to go there. Some people know, I don't want to leave tomorrow, I still want to go on holiday tomorrow. I already booked the boat cruise for Bahamas. I'm not going to go to the Pure Land. Maybe let me finish all these trips and finish all these and I go to the Pure Land. So they don't vow to go. They're scared of dying. For some people, no, they're so determined that they want to go. Who is this person? You know this person in here who always says he wants to go to the Pure Land. Mr. Stu, remember, who passed away? Every day, almost like she told me whenever she met me, she said, I don't like to be in this world. I don't want to be human anymore. I want to go to the Pure Land. I think she must be in there now. So you must believe that you want to go. You want so much, desperately you want to go. So make a vow that you want to go. If Amitabha in his dream tonight said that, okay, come tomorrow to my place, would you go? No, I won't go. I still have to sign. I still have to execute my will. I mean, to make sure that I sign my will to the lawyer, and make sure that I want to make sure that I got my driver license, and it's expire next month, and you don't want to go. Period. And of course, another is the practice. You practice chanting Namo Amitofo at least 10,000 times per day, which is about 3 hours. Practiced it. You don't have to get enlightened in this life. Because when you meditate, you want to get enlightenment. But when you want to go to the Pure Land, you don't need enlightenment. You just need the linkage to go to the Pure Land. You have your enlightenment in there under the directorship, the education of Avalokitesvara and Amitabha Buddha. In other words, you do your immigration first. You immigrate, you migrate to the Pure Land, and in there you learn. You don't reincarnate again, because it's extremely dangerous to reincarnate. You don't know where you will go. You could go to a ghost realm, the animal realm, the hell realm. But if you sign in, register, and get accepted, you can go there anytime. Because imagine, people who practice meditation, they practice at least 7 hours, 8 hours per day, their whole lifetime. How many hours to practice per day in meditation? You just come here on a Saturday and you want to be the Buddha? No, very difficult. Why not just fill out your application form, sign it, and send it out? You want to be there. Because Amitabha is your teacher, not me. He's going to make sure that you get enlightened.